Well, hello! Welcome back to the Magical Mystery School. And thank you so much, all my lighthearted subscribers. And if you're new to us, just feel free to, there'll be a link at the end of this video for the playlist. Or you can go down in the description box, or even go to my icon. I think it's over here maybe. I can't remember. And you can hit that and go to my playlist and start at the beginning if you like. So anyway, here we are. We're starting out with class 41. Oh my goodness. And I had some really good questions about synastry, but I did want to mention one more thing about relocation charts that I omitted when I was talking about those in the last lesson. When you do a relocation chart, now, of course, always your natal chart is always going to be your favorite chart you're always going to use. But the relocation chart is like, say you've moved somewhere and you want to see how things might change for you. Well, of course, when you run that new chart, you put in your new location, but you're also going to put in the time, and you want to put the time in for your physical birth. So if you were born, say, on the East Coast at 5 in the afternoon, well, Central Time, Mountain Time, and if you've moved to the West Coast time, Pacific Time, you'll want to make it 3 hours earlier. So do change that time on the relocation chart too. But the minutes would be the same, etc. Okay, and also thank you. I hope I don't sound too nasal. I'm still kind of recovering from a cold, but we will keep going. So, like I said, I got a lot of good questions about synastry charts, so I kind of wanted to mention a few things like that. And the main thing was, what if you don't know somebody's time? And this can happen, you know, I'm lucky enough, my birth time is right on my birth certificate. If it's not on the birth certificate, a lot of times birth announcements will have time of birth along with, you know, length and weight and all that good stuff. So sometimes you have to dig for that a little bit. But, you know, sometimes, you know, maybe you've gone out on a few dates with somebody and you kind of want to get a little bit better, you know, I'm kind of more interested in this person. And, you know, it's pretty easy to go, oh, so were you born here, you know, or did you grow up here? And you can kind of get that birth location fairly easily. And of course, a birthday, it's like you can always start by saying, well, my birthday is blah, blah. When is yours? You know, and you can get that birthday pretty easy. But you start sounding a little weird when you're like, okay, when's your birth time? Unless you want to just go for it and let them know, hey, I want to do your astrology chart, buddy or gal. So anyway, just to let you know, if you do one of these synastry charts, like we were talking about before, and you would be the inner wheel, and if you just sprinkle the other person's planets around your chart, you're going to get a whole lot of really good information just doing that. Venus, Mars, where their sun, their Mercury, those personal planets, you know, you're going to find out a lot. Because remember, from day to day, the most, you know, even Mercury and Venus are going to move as a degree or so. And the big outer planets aren't going to barely move at all. So that's when you can use that. Remember this guy doing this chart where you can right off the bat see, ooh, gosh, our Mercury's square. Maybe this isn't going to be so good. Or, you know, our Mars and Venus sextile. Ooh, that sounds good. Like in this one here, we're seeing a Mars square Uranus. Well, that's a lot of activity, a lot of action on that one. So you can get a lot just from the birthday. Now, the moon is more tricky because the moon is moving pretty fast. Remember, and I just kind of decided to write this down so you guys could, if you need to take a screenshot or whatever, just to really get in your mind, the moon does change signs approximately, and that's what that little squiggle means, about every 2.5 days. Or it's moving 1 degree every 2 hours. And let's think that through a little bit, because I do want you all to understand the mechanisms of astrology, because if you start to understand you're living in a big clock with all these gears and wheels going around, I think it makes it a little bit easier. So when you think about it, if you've got a 24-hour day divided by 2 or 1 degree, that means it's moving about 12 degrees a day. And sure enough, that does make sense. 12 plus 12, 1 day plus 2 days plus 6 equals 30. So that's a full sign. So there you get your, the moon changes signs every 2.5 days. So if you're lucky enough when you're scouting somebody out, or if you're trying to do someone that you don't have their birth time, you can just even look on the ephemeris, and hopefully the moon is in a sign all day, so you can get a pretty good parameter, that they're a Leo moon or a Pisces moon or whatever. But sometimes you're going to get days where a few hours it's in one sign and then it moves into another sign. So that's when that time of birth does become super important. Now, typically, too, when we don't know someone's birth time, statistically, the most common birth time is dawn. I don't know why babies decide to make their appearances at daybreak, but that seems to be the most common time. So a lot of astrologers will just use 6 a.m. And that works pretty good, because just think about that. We'll put the sun, because remember, whatever sign the sun is in, that's going to be the rising sign at dawn, right? So think that through. If the sun is in Scorpio, then the Scorpio is going to be that rising sign, okay? So the person is going to be a sun sign, whatever it is. And if you look at a chart, it'll put that sun in the first house at dawn and just make it more an emphasis in their chart. Now, some astrologers, if they don't know the time, will use noon, because that way you sort of split the difference and you can kind of judge, with the moon going forward and backwards, but you're kind of in the middle there, so you can kind of make that judgment call. Now, gosh, I sure hope, there aren't astrologers out there looking at, boy, this is really slipshod information she's giving you. Just remember, we're talking about the art of astrology here. And I understand there's a new, very expensive, computer program out there. I just heard about it. I don't know the name of it even, actually. But that it's really good at helping you figure out the ascendant sign. So, and also, as you get better and better at astrology, this kind of stuff, that, like I said, this is the art of interpretation. And if you're a little on the psychic side, that's going to really help you out a lot too. Now, another thing you can do is ask for a birth story. So I think I told you all about how my mom, when she was born, her birth story, her mother was, looking out the window and waiting for her husband to come back from a Mason meeting on his horseback. And there was a big full moon out there, so she knew she was born that night from that birth story. So sometimes maybe if you can get a birth story, that can help too. For example, I had a woman come in one time and she didn't know her birth time, so I asked her to ask her mother if there was any. And her mother said, "Oh, I don't know anything at all," right? But then as she talked a little bit more, her mother said, "Well, I know you were born in the middle of the night. It was after midnight, in the middle of the night, but it wasn't, in the morning yet at all." So when I looked at her chart and I ran charts, I could see that, that would have made her a Gemini rising or a Cancer rising. Oh, because remember, rising signs, and again, I want you to get familiar with this, like just being in the big clock. The ascendant changes signs every 2 hours. So think about that. So again, if we've got a rising sign of Gemini, so the sun is in Gemini, and or let me use something different. Sagittarius, say Sagittarius is the sun sign, and so that's at dawn. Sagittarius is going to be the rising sign. And then 2 hours later, here comes Capricorn, is going to be the rising sign. And then 2 hours later will come Aquarius, and 2 hours later Pisces. So that and again, this is approximate. You know, it may be 2 hours and 5 minutes, or maybe an hour and 48 minutes, or something like that. But every 2 hours times 12 signs equals 24 hours, so a full day. So the next day, when the sun rises again, and it's going to still be in Sagittarius, Sagittarius will still be that rising sign. Okay, so to get back to this person that came in, and she knew she was either a Gemini or a Cancer, or I figured this out because it was sometime in the middle of the night. And the minute she walked in, because remember, your rising sign is your physical appearance. It's how the people's first impressions of you. So, you know, as soon as she walked in, here walked in this sort of slender, athletic, very light-footed, talkative, super short hair, a little bit on the androgynous side for Gemini, right? Kind of athletic and kind of flat-chested and such. So to me, it seemed obvious she was a Gemini rising. Because a Cancer rising, remember, they have that, you know, moon rules Cancer. So they typically have a round face, that moon face. And then they, you know, they kind of, men and women have kind of bigger chests and that kind of thing. So, and, you know, would be more talking about emotions instead of flitting around about different things, more intellectual things for a Gemini. So a Cancer would be talking more about their emotions and that sort of thing. So anyway, you know, this is, again, I'm talking really broad strokes here, but I want to get you into the feeling of these signs and such. Okay, so, and just remember, you will get better and better and better at this as things go along. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to give you that. I guess this is Synastry Part 2. And give you a little feel for that. And next time, I'm just going to go over the body parts that the different signs rule. And we'll just keep going with some of this beginner's astrology. This was sort of advanced beginner stuff. But hopefully it made sense and will help you get into the feel of these different signs and such. So, okay, thank you very much. And as we say, from there to here, from here to there, funny things are everywhere. And thank you guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.